Whoa!
Tonight, there's new information on an explosion that rocked a San Fernando Valley neighborhood, forcing dozens of people out of their homes. Assignment editor Mike Rogers is following up on this from the desk. And Mike, you heard from frustrated residents who said they called police about this before the explosion. Well, tonight, you have pulled the data.
Yeah, you know, Pat, we even asked the chief of police that day what he knew about the previous response times. He said he'd get back to us. We didn't wait for that. We went and got the records request ourselves to figure out exactly how many times LAPD has been in that neighborhood. I also sent a crew back out to the neighborhood tonight to talk to the people that live there a week or so since this happened. LAFD is what they called a controlled burn. Now, what we've learned is interesting. The two properties you see right there, according to neighbors, are owned by the same person and recently had a change of residency. It was a couple of years prior to that, and this is what the home looks like tonight, by the way, all boarded up now where that property is. Recently, though, the new tenants moved in, and surprisingly enough, neighbors say that the new people have been pretty quiet. It's the people before them that were constantly getting the police called on them, and the data shows that. I want to show you some of the numbers here because, Pat, I went back to 2020, January 1st of 2020 to March 22nd of this year, and found 91 calls for service in that block, the 13,500 block of Remington. 49 of those calls, more than half, were for noise disturbances. I want to break down the number. 19 of those were loud music calls. We'll show you the next one. 18 party calls and 9 fireworks calls. Now, what's important to note here is what jives with what neighbors told us is that a lot of these calls were a couple of years ago before the new people moved in. But when we went back and talked to one neighbor tonight, he said a couple of weeks before this explosion, they've heard something suspicious.
Every 2-3 days, it's a bomb explode in the center of the cross street. Around the 12 midnight to 1 a.m., we hear an explosion, and we don't sleep well, but we never know who did it.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of neighbors in that neighborhood told us they simply got frustrated with calling for help, so they just stopped doing it. Now, Pat, ultimately, what was in there that caused this explosion? We're still working to figure that out with the LAPD, but when you look at this chart, everything in green is some type of noise disturbance that the LAPD responded to in the last 5 years in that neighborhood. Wow. You can understand why residents are frustrated. You can understand why they were frustrated to be out of their homes for 3 days. By the way, Pat, Lorenzo, in that soundbite you heard from, said that somebody said he was going to get a card to help them with expenses. The LAPD told him that. He says he never got that. We're going to follow up on that for Lorenzo as well.
No, there's a lot for you to follow up on, Mike, and thank goodness for that.